What is up, guys? Welcome back to the next episode of Disney Animated Classics were released today, number 6. And today it's...
The Lion King. Rawr.
Okay, maybe it's more but seriously though, The Lion King is a classic movie that came out in 1994, but it's a very interesting story how it came out. They were actually focused on another big movie at the time, so they had more amateur people to make The Lion King, which made The Lion King actually one of the greatest movies in Disney history. So, Holly, take it away.
Yeah, turns out the other movie that was in production while The Lion King was still going on was actually Pocahontas. And now I know what you're all thinking. Will we be doing Pocahontas? Well, we'll see.
It's way down the line. There's so many Disney animated classics out there. But anyway, so basically, how it starts off, apparently, how should I say this? I'm sorry if I bleed your ears. I apologize.
Be right.
Sorry, honey. Oh, shoot. Okay, honey, just continue. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So, as for the introduction song, thanks, Aaron. The animals go on to somewhere, and we watch all the animals in Africa, I believe, when it takes place. And we watch each animal go somewhere as the sun rises, and then we get introduced to the song, The Circle of Life. Hence, all the animals go to this big walk, which is called Pride Walk. And we see a big, majestic lion standing over, and a major domo bird who bows to him, while the lion simply just smiles. And then a mandrill monkey comes along, and then hugs the lion, and the lion and his mate have a baby cub.
Yep, and that baby is Simba, and the father is Mufasa, and the mother is
Sarabi.
Thank you, honey. And of course they all celebrated raising it to the sky. Everyone celebrated. Not the mantra throwing it like that meme. Can we stop do that?
Yes. And the sun rises over Simba. And before I continue on, I will say this kind of has sort of a spiritual thing in a way, because it's like ancestors and past family members shine on little Simba.
And of course, that there was a celebration, but then there was someone else that was not thrilled about it, and we all know who that guy is.
Life's not fair, is it?
Nope.
Good old Scar, or should I say evil Scar. So Scar is the brother of Mufasa. Now I know what you're all thinking, but they don't look alike. Well, maybe they're not blood brothers, or that. We don't really know, but we know they are brothers. Anyway, Scar's the youngest. He's not happy about his nephew's birth, as it takes away his opportunity to be king. And Sasu, who is the name of the major domo that I recalled in the beginning scene, goes over to confront Scar for not attending his nephew's ceremony. And that's when Scar decides to playfully and menacingly try to eat Sasu until Mufasa caught him and told him to spit him out. And here we get the relationship between the brothers themselves. Mufasa's more of a slightly aggressive but more indignant king, whereas Scar seems to be more of the fly, snarky, sarcastic lion in a way, which can be conflicting for most siblings in a way. Like, for example, Mufasa got his temper the best of him and nearly forced Scar to have a challenge. And Scar was like, temper. I wouldn't dream of challenging you. And we know that Scar might have been the outcast because he said something about genetics and he went off somewhere. Sasu talks to Mufasa, they've got a close bond. And then we skip over to the next few seasons where Simba is a playful and rambunctious cub who decides to wake up his parents. Well, his dad in more specific detail.
And we wonder where that came from. Comment down below if you guys remember a certain fish that did the same thing with his dad.
Exactly.
All right. So,
yeah.
All right. So as Simba's grown up, one day his father shows him that when he's king, he will show him all the lands. But then he asked, "What's that dark place? That darkest place?" And his response, "That's the Shadowlands. You do not go there." And you know how in every single movie, you'll always get told, hey, don't go to that area because something's bad's going to happen, and you end up going there anyway? Well...
Because you're very curious.
Yeah.
Yes, Simba invites his friend Nala, who decides to go to... Simba goes over to see Mufasa and Sasu, and Simba, this is ironic because in an altered scene, Simba chases a golfer, but it got cut. Don't know why, because there was a song called This Is the Morning Report, but it got cut. And then Mufasa was alerted by Sasu that hyenas were coming in the Pinelands, in which lions and hyenas don't get along. And then Simba's like, "Oh, can I come?" And Mufasa's like, "No, son." And Simba pouts, saying he never gets to go anywhere. And Sasu takes him home. And then here we see the relationship of Scar and Simba. So Scar seems to be a loving uncle, Simba. Not really, though. And Scar decides to trick Simba into calling that shadowy place, as Aaron mentioned before, an elven graveyard. And only the bravest lions go there. And Simba's like, "Well, I'm brave." And Scar told him it'll be their little secret. Later on, Simba goes over to see his best friend Nala, who's a girl cub who he's known for a long time. And she's having a bath from her mum. Suravi, Simba's mum, says it's time for yours, yeets Simba and tries to lick him and give him a bath and messes up his mane. And then Simba and Nala lie saying that they're going to the water hole, but they're actually going to go to the elven graveyard. Just when their plan was going to succeed, Sasu had to come along and keep an eye on the cubs. And I'll pass you on to Aaron right now.
Well, so right now, so we already talked about the whole Shadowlands and all that, and Simonala basically were there, and the hyenas went after them. So yeah, that was not good.
No, and Mufasa came, and if you look closely at the scene, you can actually see the hyenas ripping out Mufasa's fur, which I didn't notice as a kid, but the more I looked at it closely, the more I saw that Simba was watching his dad, and Mufasa fur got yanked off by some of the hyenas while fighting them. And then Mufasa says, if you ever come near my son again, then the hyenas run off. Mufasa gets really disappointed and furious with Simba, presumably Nala and Sasu as well. And he tells Nala to go home. But before we get on to that, the camera pans to the cliffs where Simba and Nala were cornered, and we see Scar looking very annoyed.
Of course, they're hyenas. They're not exactly what you call the smartest people in this Lion King. It's like, oh, I'm surrounded by idiots. And he made a claim that he would one day be king and all that.
That's when Simba and Mufasa had a talk, and Mufasa said, being brave doesn't mean you go looking for trouble. Like you're not scared of anything. I was today. You were? Yes. I thought I might lose you. And then Simba and Mufasa forgive each other and have a little playful fight. And this is one of the infamous scenes I remember as a child, when Mufasa explains to Simba about the stars, and if Mufasa is never there, that means he'll be one of those stars, such as, this is how it's quoted. Simba, let me tell you something that my father once told me. Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. Really? Yes. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be up there to guide you. And so will I.
And so, it shows the bond between Simba and his father. Now we fast forward to the stampede and everything. Run, Simba, run. And during this time, Mufasa rescues his son. But as he goes up to the cliff, he asks Scar to help him. And Scar says simply, long live the king, and pushing Mufasa to his death. And after that, Simba runs to his father and tries to help him up. And but it was too late. He was trampled.
Now some could argue that, like, Mufasa doesn't look all bloody in it. Well, sure, but sometimes you can have internal damage as well. And considering that the wildebeests have very sharp horns but also very sharp hooves, once Mufasa probably fell, not only probably did he land on his back, but also, as Aaron said, the wildebeest trampled him to death. And he would have suffered very internal bleeding inside and possible head trauma in it. And also, this is probably the first time in Disney history that we actually see a dead heron's body. Not counting Bambi, because Bambi's mom was off screen and we didn't see her body. There was going to be a scene, but it was deleted due to it being too morbid for dark Disney in a way.
Yep.
And poor Simba was crying and calling for help. And then he went over to his father's decaying body slowly and then went under his paw as a little snuggle, and I think he wanted to sleep with his dad. Unfortunately, Scar came over and pinned the blame on Simba.
That is the most sadistic way to hide your own crime, is to blame it on someone that's small that could have, and make them wish for the rest of their life they could have done anything to prevent it.
Yeah, probably one thing I would say is that, like, that wouldn't be right because, one, Simba's a young cub, and two, it's not like Simba exactly saw Scar doing it, because if he did, then he probably would have ran off and told his mum and the pride. But back to the actual movie itself, Scar tells Simba to run away and never return. Heartbroken, Simba runs. Scar looks around and tells the hyenas to kill him. And the hyenas chase Simba, they try to get him, and then Simba's like in the end of a cliff, which is surrounded by thorns. And this is when we see Simba divert from the pinelands to an unknown area, and he jumps into the thorns and then escapes. Unfortunately, one of the hyenas got pushed into the thorn bush and was literally covered in thorns. And much to the other two hyenas, Shenzi's and Ed's humour in it, and Simba kept on running, and the hyenas gave up and said, "Hey, if you ever come back, we'll kill you." And that's when, later on during the night, Scar tells his story of what happened with the stampede, claiming that Simba died as well, which not only made his mother heartbroken, but also his best friend. And that's when things started to change for the worse in the pride.
But that's for a little later, because we have to go back to Simba. He's there on an island, and he's met by a couple of interesting friend creatures.
Timon, a meerkat, Pumbaa, a glutinous warthog.
Hakuna Matata, anyone?
Yes. They teach Simba the meaning of Hakuna Matata, which means no worries. But also, in a way, Timon does say a line that actually did help me in some way, like, the past is behind you. Look, kid, bad things happen, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Right. Ron, when the world turns its back on you, you turn them back on us, or something like that, which I thought was very important as well. But then, as the years grew on, Simba became sort of like a son to Timon and Pumbaa, and had a new diet, which is eating bugs, which is pretty disgusting. However, I will say, just because Simba had a new life doesn't mean that he forgot about what happened. So, I will point out something. In the 19.5 movie, which takes place with Timon and Pumbaa meeting each other and then finding Simba, Simba seems to suffer quite a few things, such as having bad dreams, most likely PTSD, insomnia because he couldn't sleep, until he slept on Pumbaa and with Timon that he felt a lot safer.
He needed to be with someone that he considered like friends because he basically lost everything because of Scar. So to continue on, over the years we see this. So Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa walking, like moving their heads, and then it transitioned to Simba being grown up. It was a great transition in my book. Then one day, Simba and was just chilling out when Pumbaa and when he saw his friends getting chased by a lioness, a very familiar now grown-up lioness.
Yes. And then Simba and that lioness fight until she does the same fight tactic that she did to Simba when he was younger, and it turns out it was Nala, one of his old childhood friends.
Who probably thought he was dead. And after a while she explained to him that he needs to return to the Pride Lands and he didn't feel like he was welcome, yada yada. And then there was an awkward scene, which, how should I say this? Can you feel the love tonight? I don't think there's love what you're saying, yo. It's a mating season, yo. Come on, man. That's for kids. Come here.
Yes.
We're gonna censor there, people. Come on. Let's avoid that.
As to put it in a more calm manner, Aaron, Nala and Simba started to fall in love, and hence one of the infamous songs that's probably played in lots of weddings, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, was played. Timon and Pumbaa originally sung it at the start, but then it was Simba and Nala singing it. And here comes the scene where Nala gives him the look.
Yeah, the sly purr look that makes oh shoot, get that free on my face. Okay, that purr look that makes some guys go, hey.
So we can say that for a Disney movie, there is some slight sexual references, but also
let's call it sensuality, basically, in a more family-friendly terms. Because while yes, it showed that they kind of had that mating bond, but they basically censored it enough to know that, hey, we don't want them to show that. But seriously, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, or the background song? Why don't you think about that in your head for about a nanosecond, then you can figure it out.
Yeah, and it's heavily implied, I will say this before moving on to the next part of the movie. I will say it is implied, it's confirmed that it's implied they did mate after the song off screen, and then they conceived a cub who we will explain at the end of the movie. Anyway, on to now Scar's side.
Oh my, the Pride Lands are a great place now, not?
Yeah, it's very dystopian, and there's no food, no water, the lands are very barren, the hyenas took over, and some of the lionesses are even starving and refusing to hunt under Scar's command, in which Scar is being very annoyed about, and the hyenas are complaining about not having food because the lionesses are refusing to hunt. So he suggested they eat Zazu, who is caged in what is implied to be a rib cage. Little pun there. And
I got a lovely bunch of coconuts, Billy D. I had to, okay?
Yes. And this is when we actually see the side of Scar being a bit more crazy, such as Zazu mentioning Mufasa's name, and Scar's like, you know, Vanor, never ever mention that name again because I am the king.
Sounds
So
sounds like the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland.
So you can definitely see some resemblance in other sibling rivalries. If you know what I'm talking about, then comment down below, because it's from the movie we already talked about. It was the first episode. Hint, hint.
Anyway, so after that Pride Land thing, there was another transition to where Simba was alone, but then he bumped into the Mandrill, which who taught him the lesson about never let your past define you, basically, but also remember that the past is still part of you. And then one day he looks up into the water, and then he sees his father.
He lives, and he says he lives in you, which is one of the most infamous quotes, and it's actually the name of a Lion King song. But before I go on further, before all that, Simba and Nala talk, and Nala talks about what happened with the Pride Lands, how Scar is controlling the Pride Lands, and they get into a little argument, and then Simba storms off, and then he looked up at the sky and said, "You were supposed to be there for me," referring to his dad, and he blames himself for his dad's death. So we can definitely see how, it's really badly affected, not just him, like, mentally, but also rather how he takes things in control in a way. And that's when he hears Rafiki and I squash banana, and Simba gets annoyed. But before that, Rafiki actually knows Simba's alive, because in one scene Simba's mane goes and floats in the air, and Rafiki catches it and recognizes it as Simba. So that's how Rafiki knows Simba's alive, and hence, like Aaron said, he came over to aid Simba in an unusual way. And then that's when Simba actually gets to talk to Mufasa in a more, I guess others could call it a god form, but in a more
if you think Star Wars, it's more like talking to the spirit, basically, the spirit of his father. That's basically what it is.
That's true, babe. Thanks for pointing that out. And then here comes one of the most iconic quotes as well. "Remember who you are. You are my son, ever one true king. Remember who you are." And that's when Simba finally puts aside his past and actually starts to realize on what he needs to do. And then, for a jokingly matter, he grabs Rafiki's stick, tosses it for Rafiki to get distracted, and he runs. Rafiki says, "Where are you going?" Simba says he's going back, and Rafiki happily cheers for him. But little do they know that in the next morning, Timon and Pumbaa wake up and get woken up by Nala poking Timon and them getting scared. And she asks them where Simba is, and they said they couldn't find him, and that they thought he was with her, but she said he was, but couldn't find him. And that's when Rafiki announces that the king has returned. And that's when Nala explains to Timon and Pumbaa about what happened with Simba. Then we get a cool ass montage of Simba running through the desert.
It wasn't easy for him. It wasn't easy, though, just fighting off demons. But now he has to face the one man, Scar, the one who destroyed his mental state, destroyed his confidence. But when Simba showed up, Scar made him confess to his father's death. However, during the scuffle between Scar and Simba, Scar revealed the darkest truth of all: that he killed Mufasa. Yes.
And that's when Simba literally, I don't know if this was part of his rage or just because he was stronger, literally pounced on Scar and called him out for being a murderer. However, one thing I would have liked to point out is that I would have liked at least maybe Sarabi say he was just a cub, hence, showing proof that Simba didn't kill his own dad.
There's at least two problems with that. Number one, sometimes children can make innocent mistakes and get people hurt. But second, Sarabi wasn't there, so she couldn't witness it.
No. But you've got a good point, Aaron. Thank you again. And that's when Simba basically choked on Scar with his paw, and Scar said, "I did it," and Simba said, "So they can hear you," and Scar was like, "I killed Mufasa," and that's when the lionesses, including Nala, who rounded up the lionesses, the hyenas, and Timon and Pumbaa, who came to their friend's aid, started fighting. And not only that, but there was fire surrounding them as well because of the lightning. And next thing we know is that we see Simba chasing after Scar, and Simba calling him murderer, and Scar pretending to be weak and pathetic in a way.
Well, he is pathetic. What's your point?
Yes, he is. But he pins the blame on the hyenas, saying it was their fault, it was their idea, which hyenas overheard.
Oops.
So
yeah. That's an example of running away from your problems, and unfortunately that can happen. Some people don't know that until it's too late. Well, he maliciously did that. Now, the next, unfortunately though, because he's heard it, they secretly made plans to turn against Scar. And so Scar asks, "What do you want me to do?" And Simba uses the old line that Scar used on him when he was a cub: "Run away, Scar, and never return." Unfortunately, Scar, he kind of being a little snake he is, not like Ka or Sir Hiss, but he basically threw fire into Simba's eyes and attacked him. And Scar, with the greatest symbol of him charging, jumped on Simba, who was on his back. And Simba, using his hind legs, kicked Scar and threw him down below.
Not only that, but that tactic that Simba used is actually the same one that Nala used on him when he was young and when they reunited. But also, when Simba and Scar were fighting in slow motion with her standing up, if you look closely when Simba swiped Scar, there's no blood, but however when Scar swiped Simba, a little splash of blood came out of Simba's mouth. So there is a bit of blood in The Lion King. Only minor, but I saw that when I rewatched it. In a way.
Yeah. So the fighting, the intensity, the choreography, and not choreography, that's dancing, but the composing of the music and even the intensity of it led to probably one of the greatest fight scenes of history in Disney. And eventually, though, Scar falls to the ground, and he was asking his hyenas to help him like a little bitty kitten. But the hyenas were like, last time I heard, he blamed us. And then we see possibly the end of not only Scar, but possibly the hyenas from the fire that spread across. Because Predators were pretty dry too, by the way. I should have pointed that out.
And also the most gruesome and darkest Disney death of all time, to a point I even did a painting where Scar actually had his body shown and the hyenas actually killing him. So hey, that's part of Circle of Life.
Talk about an ouch. That's more than one Scar to deal with. I'm sorry, I had to.
And then the rain started to come and leveled down the fire, and that's when everyone started coming back together. Simba walked down, officially claiming that he won, and it was a peaceful, quiet moment. No dialogue, no nothing, just beautiful music, lovely colours in it. Simba got to nuzzle his mom. Simba got Nala as his mate. Then Rafiki told him it was time. And Simba gave him a hug, which is a reference to Mufasa giving Rafiki a hug in the beginning. And here's one of the most infamous... There's so many infamous scenes. Like, come on, guys, it's a great movie. Infamous scenes where Simba's walking up to Pride Walk, and the music is just mind-blowing while there's rain pouring down, as the others look in awe at him. And then Simba is at the edge of Pride Walk. Mufasa says, "Remember." Simba smiles and then lets out a big, mighty roar, officially claiming that he's king.
And thus, we see the transition of Simba becoming king, and then he and Nala do have a cub of their own, just like the beginning of the movie. That cub is a lioness, Kiara, which is revealed in Lion King 2. Now, that is basically it, though. That's the end of the Lion King after they revealed. However, now, guys, you guys are wondering, what rating would you give it? Well, let's put it this way. Death, fighting, animal. This is like the Jungle Book, minus the incident with a human. So there's no human in this, and there really isn't, there's no hunting, but there is death, there is animal violence, and there is betrayal, and even a sensuality scene. So, what do you think, honey? What would you rate it?
Oh, probably for me, I would possibly consider it as a PG plus 13, possibly, or just a PG, but there were some deleted scenes that would have made it more rated as an R, such as apparently in one deleted scene, Gar wanted Nada as his queen, which in a way she's far too young, but also in a way Simba and Nala were originally going to be cousins, but they didn't. That didn't happen because that would have been incest. Similar to Bambi and Feline were going to be cousins.
Sweet home Alabama. Okay, I'll stop.
But also considering how, like, in my opinion, this movie's actually, I can imagine Lion King fans saying this was one of the most movies that actually has helped me with real life in a way. Like, Simba having possible PTSD is actually confirmed as him being one of the possible first characters to have PTSD, which is a serious thing in real life, and that's hardly explored in a Disney movie. And also the fact we see the infamous death scene of Mufasa and Scar killing him, and the wildebeest trampling all over Mufasa.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think though, while Holly says PG-13ish, I say PG-13. And the reason is there's been the death scene, there was the intense fire and the excruciating death of Scar, and there was even the fires that brew out, not exactly settling, and the sensuality scene between Nala and Simba, which yeah.
But also, it could be implied that the rating might have been so toned down because The Lion King's a musical and Timon and Pumbaa have like fart jokes and like implied comedy. Well, sure, but that doesn't exactly rate it down in a way.
It is rated G, but if you think about it, the live action one, which we're not going to talk about, is PG. So it doesn't really. So you can make it musical all you want, but unfortunately, as I said in The Rescuers, which we rated R, it doesn't. Just because there's been a musical, there was a lot more intense stuff that happened in that. So above all, The Lion King PG-13, and basically, yes, guys, we might consider talking about Lion King 2, but that's going to be a long ways down because we're not going to focus on sequels yet. But if you guys enjoyed this, please give it a like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to Holly. She's going to help her on her channel. She's going to show a compilation of her artwork soon, especially on Disney. And also, guys, be sure to check out the other playlists at the end of the video in the card. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. God bless you, rock. Don't forget it.
Be unique and be creative. Have a good day, everyone.